If you're taking the LNAT, it's crucial that you're ready for both parts of the test. In this video, we're going to explore Section A, the multiple choice test. For full advice on the LNAT, including a selection of practice questions, be sure to download the Big Book of Oxbridge applications for free, linked in the description. So yes, Section A is the multiple choice portion of the test, which features 42 individual questions which need to be answered in 95 minutes. Each question is linked to one of 12 passages, which aren't necessarily related to law in any way. The idea of the subtest is to analyse the way these passages are written rather than just understanding the content itself. You'll need to be able to read these passages with a critical viewpoint and be able to identify the features of arguments, including evidence, logic, and balance. Questions will sometimes ask you to simply highlight a statement made in the passage, but others will ask you to highlight elements of the text, such as arguments being made, flaws in logic, criticisms that have been made, or the writer's intentions. Remember that these are all multiple choice, so you'll have some clues as to what you're looking for. While you can't really revise for this test, there are some key principles that you need to understand to be able to identify within these passages. Premise versus conclusion. A conclusion is generally a summary of the arguments made in the text, usually explicitly stated or heavily implied, while the premise is a statement from which another statement can be inferred or follows as a conclusion. So a conclusion is shown, implied, or proven by a premise. Facts versus opinion. This is a very simple one. A fact is, of course, a statement that has been tested to be true or false, while an opinion can't be tested as such and instead reflects an author's personal beliefs. Facts are far more important in practically any argument, so you'll need to be able to tell the difference between them. Correlation versus causation. Just because two incidents or events have occurred, that does not mean one has caused the other. The classic example is that both ice cream sales and shark attacks go up in the summer, but ice cream sales do not impact shark attacks or vice versa. While that one is common sense, the LNAT may throw some more subtle examples within its questions, so be prepared to analyse both sides of a statement like this to determine if a link is actually viable, and if not, then why. Lastly, arguments versus assertions versus explanations. An argument is generally an attempt to persuade, providing a premise or evidence, and a conclusion. An assertion is more of a direct statement of fact, while an explanation is similar to an argument but does not make an attempt to persuade, but rather describes why something is the way it is using facts. Let's look at a couple of example questions. This passage is about the development of AI technology, and the question asks us to select the solution that critics have posed to help workers. The answer to this is directly written in the text, so this is a bit of an easier one to answer. However, in this question, we instead need to identify the main point made in this article about climate change. This isn't directly stated in the text, so we instead need to infer the point based on what is written. The next question takes things a step further, requiring us to identify the tone of the article, which in this case is sarcastic due to the less serious language used. Of course, there are plenty more question types than this, but you should get the basic picture from these examples. The point of this section is to test your skills in comprehension, interpretation, analysis, and deduction, all essential aspects to the field of law. By being able to identify arguments, evidence, and logic within these texts, you'll be better prepared to take on actual legal texts when you begin your studies. Now, as for preparing for Section A of the LNAT, there are a few things you can do to improve your analytical skills while reading passages. The first one is just to take on practice questions. This is a surefire way to improve your ability to work through the LNAT and get the questions right, especially when utilising worked solutions and enforcing time restrictions on yourself. However, there's much more that you can do outside of your practice sessions, and the main thing is just to read more. Your ability to read and understand the components of these texts is the key to success in the LNAT, so building these skills outside of the context of the test will help it feel more natural within the testing environment. Some of the best things to read include newspaper or magazine articles, academic journals, blog posts, and anything else that attempts to convey a point or an argument. But it's not just about reading these things. Try to break down what the author is saying and how they're saying it. If you're creative, you could even come up with quick LNAT-style questions to solve while you're reading, to keep yourself in that academic mindset. As the LNAT is a timed exam, you also need to ensure that you're able to manage your time effectively. With just 95 minutes to get through 42 questions, you're going to need to be able to read fast to get through all 12 passages and the corresponding questions and answers. It's best to read the questions before going into the passage, as these will provide key words that you can look out for as you skim through the text. Some of the content in these passages won't be relevant to any of the questions, so you can save time by focusing on what you need to read. Finally, when taking a test, don't leave any questions unanswered. You won't lose any marks for getting one wrong, but leaving it blank because you ran out of time will guarantee you don't get the mark. Some questions may require a process of elimination if you're tight on time, but don't be afraid to make an educated guess if you really can't figure it out in the time available. So, that's it. I hope you found this look into LNAT Section A helpful, and be sure to subscribe for even more on the LNAT, Oxford, Cambridge, and more. Best of luck.